Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy, and welcome to Tuesday's Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I do this every Tuesday. You are welcome to ask questions live in the YouTube channel or the LinkedIn. I'm monitoring both, or you can ask a question anonymously or all week long at deltacx.link/ask. That means we've got some questions queued up that came in through the Ask system while none of you were looking. So let's take a look at them, and I'm going to keep monitoring for any additional questions. And hello, Dhanashree. So let's see. Our first question. Any encouragement for a UX researcher who experiences frustration while trying to push a stodgy company into talking with users before going into ideation? Well, first of all, person, you're in luck. Yesterday, I think we did a whole show pretty much on this. So please go into the live stream podcast episodes playlist and look for episode 114, which we called, hold on, I'm drawing a blank. Overcoming limited access to users. I think that would be somewhat relevant here. And hello, Lampros. Thanks for joining. I also would suggest documenting everything. Hi, Charlene. How you doing today? I say document everything. If you see that there are some risks because we are going straight into ideation or design or brainstorming or something like that, document those. Document the risks of not working from research or skipping testing or whatever they're doing. And that way, not, nya, I told you so. But if there is a failure later in the project, we would want to be able to show that we wanted to do research to avoid this failure, to avoid this risk. And that was not, nobody went for it at the time. But in the future, it would be important. So remember, these straight into ideations and we don't need testing are only awesome when they just happen to be awesome. Hi, Destiny. I'm glad you're here today. I'll give you some confetti. They're only awesome when they happen to be awesome, and they are so rarely awesome. So make sure you're documenting what's going on, because a stodgy company or a low maturity company usually doesn't want to change, and they're going to have to feel a lot of pain before they're going to change. And they're only going to feel that pain if someone is there to document it and say it out loud and talk about it. Otherwise, it's probably the same type of company where there isn't a lot of accountability, and when projects go badly, magically nobody's in trouble. It's nobody's fault. There should be accountability. So I would say try documenting this more, and maybe over time you can say, hey, look, just give me 2 weeks to do some quick research, or give me 3 weeks for this or whatever. See if you can start buying a little bit of time for some things here and there. And also see if you can make marketing your buddy. But that's a longer answer. So if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. I'm watching the chat and the Ask system. You are welcome to ask follow-up questions to questions you didn't ask. So all questions are welcome. Second question that came in ahead of time says, is there an affirmation or a mantra that will help me put up with a narcissist's rudeness? This person has to be invited to observe interview sessions I moderate, and they've already tried to hijack one. Said person is in the stratosphere of the corporate ladder, but in a different department. So it's me who will have to leave in the end. I've learned I can't beat a narc. Okay, so thing one, you're probably right. You're probably not staying at that company very much longer, and I'm sorry to hear it. And I'm sorry that it'll be the culture and probably some other things that are forcing you out. Second of all, I know it probably feels a little bit late and it might not work, because these types of tactics normally work best the first time and not the 10th time when they've already gotten away with it a few times. You got to stand your ground right away, and a lot of us don't. So what I would do is, you talked about how they want to observe interview sessions that you moderate, but then they try to hijack it. That means they had the power to hijack it. That means they weren't just observing, they had some way to derail this or interrupt it. So I would make sure that that person is at enough of a distance where they can't. So for example, they're in a Zoom webinar, but they're muted and they cannot turn on their camera. I think you can only do that with Zoom webinar and not necessarily with Zoom meeting. So check on that. But they're in a Zoom webinar and they can't unmute and they can't turn on their camera. They're in a different room because you have 2 rooms and there's a one-way mirror and they can't, whatever they say can't be heard by anybody else. You ask them for questions up front and you have a way for taking questions later. And again, they cannot be heard or seen by the participants. So I think it's going to be partially up to you to make sure you're using tools and systems that give you the boundaries, the healthy boundaries that it sounds like you haven't had here. Because I'm for people observing and I'm for them having questions and things like that. Curran says, thanks for doing these. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. And Destiny, I see what you've written in Solomon, and there's another question coming in. I promise I'm following all this. We'll get it into the system. So I think that that's what I would do. These are your interview sessions, and just because they have a high title from some other department doesn't mean that they get to run them or control them or moderate them, and it's going to be up to you to say no. It's going to be up to you to set boundaries. That's going to be a slide that I'm doing on my July 7th show. Why do we say yes to everything? What happened to us that we give up our power and we let our boundaries go and things like that? I really want to see people get back to saying, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And I do that with some of my clients when they want to observe live interview sessions. I say, I'm sorry, I don't include clients in live interview sessions. I don't want people seeing 2, 3, 4, 5 people on the Zoom list. It can make them feel self-conscious, but I will happily give you the videos after. So establish boundaries and stand up for them and give them a reason why. And usually, at least I found people go with it. So good luck with that. Destiny says, I've had to document user testing and post-campaign results to highlight the disconnect from marketing campaigns to how users shop our store. So true. Document it. Solomon, I see your question. We also have an anonymous one coming in that I'm going to copy and paste. So let's get these questions in. Everybody knows I am copying and pasting these into the YouTube description. And save. And hold on, anonymous person. Let me see what you're asking. Where did it go? Here we go. No, I've got 2 anonymous questions. All right, we'll get everybody on the list. I promise. Okay. I can't go too late today because I promised I would be someone's user research test subject. But I have a strange feeling I'm going to be teaching them research. So, okay. So 2 anonymous questions. Let me grab these and let's get back to our list. And sorry, I should really share my screen and show you the 8 million screens that are going on here. So I hope that helps for the person who asked it. The next question, now I feel like I'm on Jeopardy, is a video, a web page question. So let me see if I can figure out my screen sharing and press all the right buttons. So someone sent me this article and wanted me to react to it and ask if this was, the question was, is this user research or market research? Let me see if I can press the right button here. Where's the Deb screen button? That should be this. Yeah, there I am. So this is an article about Superhuman trying to find product market fit. Superhuman was in a load of trouble a few years ago. That's even in my book. So that's a whole other story. But here they're talking about product market fit. And that's something I love to research and work on for companies. So you're right. This could be user research more in the CX and UX space, or it could be market research a little bit more in the marketing space. So what are they doing? Well, this is an extremely long article. So I'm not going to be able to go through all of it, but I did skim it a little bit before, and I'm going to try to react to it quickly. So mostly it sounds like they were trying to figure out, they were using one of those techniques that says, ask your users how they would feel if they could no longer use your product. The group that answers very disappointed will unlock product market fit. So for example, if someone said, how disappointed would you be if you could never see YouTube again? Oh, wow, I love YouTube, or at least I love many things about YouTube. Wow, I'd be very disappointed. And the idea is that the people who would really miss your product because they feel so connected to it, or they have such a need for it, or it really works for them, that's the people for whom you have a good product market fit. And they're saying that they found some sort of number that's 40%. If you don't have at least 40% of your users claiming, oh my gosh, they would be so disappointed if you stopped existing, you don't have product market fit. Again, I don't live in a very quantitative world. So, what does that mean? And I don't totally know. So to me, when I skimmed this article, a lot of it felt like market research. It didn't feel like user research because I didn't hear anything here about how we want to interview 80 people and get to the bottom of what's working and what's not working for them. It seems like this is more of a survey and we're just trying to take people's temperature. So here they say it's a type form survey asking, how would you feel if you could no longer use Superhuman? And of course, they're shooting for very disappointed. And who would benefit most from Superhuman? Again, these are definitely marketing questions. I don't ask these questions because I don't ask people to predict if other people will like a product or not. Sometimes we're good at that and sometimes we're not. It doesn't really make sense. You've all recommended a movie or a TV show to someone and they ended up hating it. So, why are you asking your people to do your marketing? What's the main benefit you receive from Superhuman? That's a fair question. And how can we improve it? Also fair questions. But again, this is a survey and I always prefer the qualitative, interview, talking to humans thing, especially funny for a company called Superhuman. And they found that only 22% would be very disappointed if they couldn't have Superhuman. They felt like, we must not be really having product market fit. But the funny thing is the next thing they did was they manipulated their data. They said, well, hold on, let's put people into buckets and maybe some bucket would really miss us. Okay, again, that's marketing's approach. So then they found that, well, if we put people into buckets, some people miss us more than others. And ultimately, I'm just looking at this, and again, I'm skimming it, and I'm going, well, what's the point here? If people would be very disappointed if your company went away, congratulations, you have fans. But then what's going wrong? What can you make better? Where do you connect with your customers? Where do you disconnect with your customers? So again, I would have to say, ultimately, this felt more like market and marketing research. This did not feel like user or generative or evaluative research to me, but I will say that one of the things that I do love to do is to use UX and CX research approaches and techniques for product market fit. So let's go back to a giant picture of me and catch up with the chat room, who's evidently on fire. Chat room, what's going on? Let's see. Curran said, I'm currently on the hunt for my first UX UI designer role, and I'm getting demoralized from seeing junior roles with 3 to 5 years experience. What are some ways to break into the market? What's with that neon green text color? Okay, so Curran, I'm gonna have to put your question on the list because there are people before you, but I also see people responding to you, so there's a whole conversation going on here. So to the person who asked me to look at that article, I hope that helps, and hope it wasn't too much of a sidetrack. So let's take a look at the next question. This one was a little strange, but it makes sense. This came in anonymously. And Caroline, I see we have an anonymous question from you too, so let me get that on the list. And hold on, let's copy paste that. I live in a world of copy paste. Please hold. One woman show. Okay, so the question that came in earlier says, as a UX designer, how do you handle a project where the main requirement is lift and shift? For example, a product is moving from Drupal 6 to Drupal 8, and the client is okay for you to make slight UX changes, but no time for a whole discovery, define, design phase. Either they don't have enough budget or they want to launch something very quick. What's the best possible process I can follow in this type of scenario? Typically, when engineering is changing something about the engineering, I mostly stay out of it unless there is a specific problem I'm trying to solve. If I start trying to insert myself into an engineering change, that can sometimes make people bothered by that, because this is technically an engineering project to change the CMS or an API or a version of something, outside of Drupal. I'm just saying in general, when there's something that's really an engineering project, who said it has to involve me? There's always UX improvements that can be made, but I would want them to be defined and detailed really by good research. So I think you don't want to just sneak in and try to make some quick UI changes. If they request them, then you're doing them. But I think that my general thought is, if engineering is doing something, unless they need something from me, I should probably stay out of an engineering project. Again, unless there's something about the engineering project that I think I can fit something UX into. But again, since UX is usually a longer process where we have research, architecture, design, testing, and improvement and things like that, it's really hard to sneak good things in. We're unlikely to sneak quality things in. So that's my thought there. I know that sounds weird, and I know you're probably thinking Deb throws UX onto everything, but I think you have to pick your battles, and if it really is some sort of engineering upgrade, code refactoring, Drupal 6 to Drupal 8, sometimes I just stay out of it. Sorry, that might not be the answer you were looking for, but if you're watching live, please do ask a follow-up question live in the chat or through deltacx.link/ask. Actually, it's DeltaCX. Kayleen's got it wrong. No offense, Kayleen. Let me put it up on the screen. DeltaCX.link/join Slack is our Slack workspace. It's completely free. We have almost 800 people there, and according to Slack, over 160 are active. So it's an active little spot with lots of different... you were so close, Kayleen. Thank you for that. So there you go. You can always join the Slack channel. And of course, tips are welcome, but optional, and they will fall into this tip jar. That would be super chat, super stickers, and tips. And of course, I use them to buy cheese. Today I ate feta. So thanks to all of you for the feta. Destiny, I see your question. I'm going to put it on the list, but the list is long. I will do my best to answer all these questions, but holy cats, y'all, this is a long list. Next question. At this point, I don't even know who asked these things, so I apologize. I probably won't be able to put them up on the screen because I've copied and pasted them and I don't remember where they were. If you're in the midst of a project where engineering needs designs after they complete back-end infrastructure work, but you're still validating prototypes, how do you go about providing them with work that validated versus what isn't? How do you push back to program and engineering managers? So this sounds like something I talk about all the time, and I'll be talking about again on July 7th, which is what happened to the planning here? Planning. If we had done better planning up front, we would have been able to give UX the time that it needs for whatever you decided was part of this process: research, architecture, design, validating the prototypes, updating the prototypes, things like that. So I would say it might be hard to push back now because very often these things are planned way ahead of time, and this is the amount of time we have. And sometimes when we show up later and we go, oh, no, I need more time, we look like we're bad at this. We look like we're bad at meeting deadlines, because people don't understand that very often in the earlier planning sessions, nobody asked us what we were going to do and how much time we needed. Someone guessed how much time we were going to need, and it wasn't enough. And now you're stuck trying to figure out, how do you ask for more time? So I think the important conversation to have, and you probably need your manager for support on this one, is, hey, I had nothing to do with the planning on this this project. Nobody said to me, we're going to build this and we're going to need validated prototypes from you by, Friday, June 25 or whatever it is. You probably got blindsided by this kind of late in the process. So your company has to get into a better process where UX is involved in planning and estimation so that you can see the project coming, so that you can get the head start that you need, so that you're not seen later as someone who's holding up engineering because now you need more time. So it's also important for you to start to get better at estimating your time. If this is a mistake of your time estimation, then it's important for you to see where you went wrong with that. And next time you need to ask for another week or 2 weeks or whatever this is. So I would probably be going to your manager on this one more to try to help you in the future be part of planning. But for now, pushing back is hard because these people planned this time probably weeks or months ago. And so for you to now say, ooh, wait, oops, it's a big mess. I can tell you, go to them and tell them, hey, I wasn't involved in earlier planning. You didn't let me estimate my time. You guessed at my time and you guessed wrong because you didn't involve me. And we've got to change that for next time. If Agile claims they want to constantly improve and they want to have a retro and get better, here's what we need to do. This is my retro topic. I want to be involved in this earlier so that I get the right amount of time to do my best work. And, go and tell them what you need. I need another week. I need another 2 weeks. Or can you borrow somebody else if there's a UX team? Can you borrow somebody else to try to work with you, to try to speed it up a little bit just for a week or two? Sometimes that can help. So I hope that helps. Let me check the chat room. I just want to make sure I'm catching up with all of these questions because they're coming in so fast. Destiny, I got your question as well. Second question. Okay, so let's see. Next question. What's typically a process for walking through a conceptual prototype with a group of customers? How do you handle and avoid accidental focus groups and stay on track to present, get initial responses, and if the prototype is a good fit for their use cases? So if we are evaluating a concept and evaluating a prototype, my question would be, why are we doing this with a group? It's always better to have people one-on-one. If you want to avoid accidental focus groups, then don't hold a focus group, because if you're going to show a group of people things and they're all going to start talking out loud, you have focus groups and you have the groupthink that goes with them, and you have the awkwardness of the people who don't want to talk or think they're being judged, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. John seems to have a question. So the project is set sail, new works, wasn't vibes. Yeah, so I'll try to get everybody's questions in here, but they're starting to come a little bit too fast for me. Sometimes it's really quiet here and nobody asks anything, and today I'm already overwhelmed and we're not even half done. So we'll get Kayleen and John's questions up on my list, which you can't see. So again, to that person, I would say do not hold the focus group. Try to work with people one-on-one. Maybe that needs to be moderated. Maybe you can make that go faster by having it be unmoderated. But remember, be careful of initial responses. Sometimes initial responses are accidentally, do you like it? And in reality, if you are working on a concept or a prototype, you are trying to make something better, more efficient. You're trying to improve a task, a workflow, a process for that user or customer. So give them a task. Give them a task that shows if you improved whatever it was you set out to improve. Think back to your goals for what you were designing. So instead of, hey, what's your impression of this thing? Hey, how do you like it? Hey, what do you think? And I'm not saying you're going to say that. But what I would do is I would make sure that either through moderated or unmoderated testing, one at a time, you're showing people this new prototype and give them a task in the prototype. And that way you will know, did we make this process better, faster, more efficient, matching their tasks, fixing a workaround, designing in knowledge that they didn't have. So that's what I would say, because you're saying, is the prototype a good fit for their use case? give them a task. That use case matches a task they're trying to accomplish. Give them a task and you will know. But again, I wouldn't do it focus group style. I wouldn't give a group a task. I would do this as moderated or unmoderated kind of usability testing. Not necessarily usability testing, but that's style of testing to see if if their task is improved. Curran says, joining the Slack group. Thank you. Kayleen says, can I moderate the questions so you can read them and not look for them? My system is supposed to help me with that, but it assumes that the person doing that is in the same room as me, and that's where this falls apart. So we will have to try to figure out if we can have you be remote moderator. I will think about that one. Thank you, Kayleen. Kayleen, I hope your teeth are feeling better. Next question. Let's see. Any tips with working, I think this was Solomon's question, any tips with working with indecisive stakeholders? I've recently found myself in a situation with a stakeholder that likes to source opinions from others despite the research-backed recommendations I make on the project. And I think Solomon wrote something else. Let me scroll back and see if I can find it. I presented my own research. I presented similar research from leading consultancies. I even presented the guiding principles of 3 decades to no avail. Well, great. Sounds like you took Daniel's advice from episode 114. So as usual, Solomon, great work. But, you know, we've talked about these personalities. We've talked about these unfortunate people who are sometimes difficult people or narcissists. And when you have data that shows that their idea is bad or wrong, it does not compute. The robot starts sparking and short-circuiting like this is a bad 70s movie. And the problem is that person usually doesn't let go until they find somebody who will support them because they need so badly to be right or to hear that their idea was good. I don't know if playing into that narcissism at all will help you, where you can say something like, there were some good things about your idea, but unfortunately the research shows blah, blah, blah. This is why we do the research to mitigate risk and blah, blah, blah. But again, Solomon, based on the story you've told, I can't really think of anything. It's not like you did this wrong. So thing one, don't look at yourself on this one. You didn't get anything wrong. You didn't break this guy and you can't fix him. So just number one, be careful about that. You know, this is where resilience is so important. We don't want to get down too long for someone else's foolishness. That's where I like to hand out the Don Norman, the Delta CX Serenity Prayer, as I like to call it. Oh, Don Norman, give us the resilience to keep trying to change the things we should change, the workplace that wants a low-ego action hero, and the courage to leave the job that doesn't. In fact, Solomon, if I saw correctly on LinkedIn, your manager just quit. Y'all, I'm keeping an eye on you. So, you know, these are some difficult workplaces, and I don't know if you have a manager right now who can support you on this, and I'm sorry that you have this difficult person, but again, I just try to present the stakeholders with the best unemotional, unbiased information I can. I try to document the risk, and I would document the risk of a stakeholder who is looking to prove their idea right. And I've dealt with some of those before, and I just tried to document the reasons why their idea was not the right way to go, and that was research backed, and that I escalated it to higher level people in my department who ended up backing me, and we just document. Solomon says, yes, LOL. Yeah, I saw that one. I miss him so much. What? He just left. He just left. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Oh well. Okay, Solomon, I'm sorry, I don't have the best advice for you. You know, I'd be telling you to do what you did, and you did it. So I'm just going to do this and go polish up that resume and start interviewing. And, you know, we're saying your name on the show, so you don't have to say whether or not you're doing that. But someone hire Solomon. He's just so amazing. I'll try to hire him. I probably can't afford him. Who am I kidding? All right. Curran had written, I'm currently on the hunt for my first UX UI designer role. I'm getting demoralized from seeing so many junior roles with 3 to 5 years experience. What are some ways to break into the market when you're green? I would say nearly zero, unfortunately. Since many junior roles are looking for at least 1 year of experience, I would say 3 to 5 is, I'm not seeing that very often. I'm seeing junior years wanting 1 year of experience, sometimes 2, which is also strange. I don't see, I don't see anything. Trying to join is not working for me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Getting an invite would be amazing. You can't join the Slack channel? That's strange. Kayleen says, Solomon, have you shown them video montages? That's a pretty good one. Curran, let's deal with your Slack channel problems later. Find me on LinkedIn and write to me there. But I like Kayleen's idea about showing weirdo stakeholder video montages, but I also get the feeling it wouldn't change anything. Scott says, look up Debbie's videos featuring Darren. He goes on at length. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. So Curran, I don't have any good ideas for you right now, only because most jobs want at least a year of experience. So I don't know how to get that. You're going to have to look for apprenticeships mostly. Internships are usually reserved for people who are in university programs or just graduated a university program. If that's not you, if you haven't just done a university program, then you are looking for an apprenticeship and not an internship. They're very rare and, of course, highly competitive, because 10,000 people all want the same apprenticeship. So I don't have a good answer for this right now. Unfortunately, the system is broken. I can only say keep learning, keep practicing, get a mentor or coach, and just keep trying to upgrade yourself. Destiny says, try to find small companies that might be willing to train. Curran says, I did a UX boot camp last year. Well, most of y'all know that I don't like the boot camps. I like you, but I don't like the boot camps. And Curran, I would go back to the boot camp and say, I did the boot camp. You said I would get a job within 6 months. Help me. Help me, help me, help me. So I don't think they do enough. So, and Curran, it's not about how many case studies you have. If the case studies come from your boot camp, they're probably not strong enough. It's not about how many case studies you have. It's about the strength of your case studies. If you are showing case studies that show poor work and poor process, I don't care if you have 1 of them or 6,000 of them. If you're showing poor process, you're unfortunately unlikely to get hired by any company that understands good process. You could get hired by a company that doesn't understand good process, but then you're probably not going to grow there. So do you even want that job? So be careful. Okay, next question. How do you record and synthesize insights from customer insight? What's a good strategy of writing it down, recording it, and sharing it with other designers and researchers? Okay, so certainly video montages are good there. There's lots of tools out there right now who are trying to be research repositories. So you can definitely sign up for one of these systems. And again, not sponsored, but there are things like Dovetail. That's like a research repository where you're going to get your videos and some notes and some other things in there. And then they have a way to share that with other people. But Dovetail is certainly not the only player on the planet. You can look at user interviews, subway map of all of the tools out there and see who competes against them. There's also the terribly named Enjoy HQ, also not sponsored, but they were bought by User Zoom, who's just been buying up everybody. So strategy of writing things down, recording and sharing with other designers and researchers. For that, I use videos, video montages, reports, PowerPoint decks, but ultimately talk to those people and ask them, what do they need from you? What do they need from you so that you can make sure you're providing what they need in the format in which they need it. It looks like there's a side chat happening in the chat room. Curran says, I guess I'll need a proper portfolio review. I give people 1 free portfolio review if you watch episode 54 in the live stream podcast playlist, fix the problems with your portfolio, and then send it over to me. But warning, it is a bit of a tough love portfolio from the perspective of someone who understands UX. It is not going to be from the perspective of an HR person who's looking at you for a visual designer job that likes to make wireframes. I'm going to actually look at and care about your UX process. So if that's the job you're looking for, I'm the right person to see your portfolio. If you're really looking for a more UI UX job where you just hope to do visual design and a little bit of wireframing, then that evidently doesn't require process. From what I hear, anyone can do it. Hey, you made it into the Slack channel. Congratulations. Destiny says, work with real users, nonprofit, volunteer, etc. Again, be careful there because a lot of the nonprofit and volunteer things are not real UX projects. They're visual design projects or web design projects. They usually don't want UX research and UX testing. So you might not be able to put them in your portfolio depending upon what they are. And also, if you're not working with a mentor or coach and you're guessing at these projects, then you're not really leveling up. You're just guessing. And unfortunately, I think these volunteer and nonprofit organizations deserve better than someone guessing at something they really need done. So make sure you're working with a mentor or coach who can review your work and help you level up. Solomon says, it's not the best way to determine how something would work in context. Eye tracking study, biasing people. Okay, there's a whole side thing going on in the chat that I can't even keep up with. So I'm just going to keep working on the questions that have come in. And here we go. How do you manage expectations with stakeholders who want change based on a gut feeling versus research and testing? Like I said before, document everything. Document everything. We spent, let's just make up some numbers. We spent 8 weeks on engineering. We spent marketing money. We spent customer support money. We spent whatever money. We spent 12 weeks on engineering, for 8 people, plus product manager, plus visual designer, plus whatever, just to roll this out. And what was the response to it? And again, the problem here is normally that to avoid accountability, many people will make it look like whatever this was a success. They will sweep under the rug when this is not a success. But we have to pursue customer support. Are we getting tickets about this? Calls, chats, tweets? And we have to be able to say, this project failed partially, failed wholly, or went great. Because remember, when we're guessing and assuming, it's great if it goes great. But what's the chances that it was the exact perfect solution that people happen to need? Now, of course, there is no perfect solution. We can always do better. But what are the chances that it was the right solution at the right time? Kind of low. And so Destiny says, got to go, but love you, Deb. We'll watch the rest later. Love y'all too. Keep me posted on the, Slack universe. Thank you for the smiley face. Kayleen says, who would say no to business intelligence? A narcissist who doesn't want to hear they are wrong or their idea is not the right way to go. So again, to the person asking about managing expectations with stakeholders who just want to go with gut feelings, we have to document the risk of going with gut feelings, guesses, assumptions, hypotheses, which I like to joke is Greek for guessing. So we just have to document that, and then we have to look later at how the project went, which I'll be talking more about on July 7th. So mark your calendars for that. G says, I got my first year of experience through startups, and that should be a topic of its own. I graduated from a boot camp, and I don't support them. Yeah, we know the boot camps are crap, and the problem with going right into a startup is usually you're the only UX person there, so you are guessing, and nobody is checking your work. A lot of people think like, yeah, I'm going to go into a startup and someone's going to look at my work and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just you. So that's why you've got to have that outside mentor or coach who's going to review your work and your plans and your projects and help you get it right and level up, because otherwise you are super, super guessing. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because that's just the nature of the newbie. You're guessing until you know. I don't want to say you're faking it until you're making it. You're not faking it. You learned something and you're trying to apply it, but it's still new. Curran says, yeah, I realized how many companies were against boot camps until after I was well into my course. Yeah, and I'm against boot camps, but I still hire people who came from them. And that's because I'm looking at different qualities of people. I'm not looking for, did you go to a boot camp or not? I'm looking at, do you have talent? Do you have the right personality? Do you have the right heart? Do you have the right intelligence? I'm judging people more on their traits than on where did they get their education. Because I have a degree in music. So why am I going to pick on you for not having a master's in UX? Doesn't make sense. Oh, Amanda, you're here. I'm so happy. I was hoping to see you. Amen to going into startups as a new designer. Luckily, the CEO of my first startup came up in UX. Otherwise, it would be a crap show. So true. And Charlene, well, let's put your question on the end of the list. I want to get to some other people who asked before you, but it is a good question, and I think we can answer it. So let's go to bottom of the list, and now let's go back up the list. I've got a list. Next was, I think, Destiny's question, which is too bad because she left and she asked a bunch of questions, so I hope she'll watch later. This was, what is typically the UX designer's role when on a team with UX researchers? So typically what I find is that the work is fairly split along where people might have specialties. Typically the researchers are handling the research and the testing, and the designers are handling the information architecture, the interaction design. I'm getting musical notes. Oh, Kayleen says, thanks for giving me a chance, even though I had a music degree. Well, I have a music degree, so why would I poop on your music degree? In fact, I think it brings us together. So, there you go. So the UX designer is typically doing information architecture, interaction design, prototyping, and in my opinion, coordinating with your content people and your writers, coordinating with the visual designer. I don't think the researcher necessarily has to do that. So that is where I can sometimes draw those lines, where the researcher is going to do the research and give everybody the data and business intelligence and quotes and personas and so anything that is a research artifact that comes out of the research, I usually expect the researcher to do. That might be personas, task analysis, optimized task flow, customer journey maps. If you believe in those, I don't. For the most part, I do task analysis. So I usually expect the researcher to handle those things. Honey, can you hear me? Can I ask you to please feed the dog? She's kicking her bowl around. Thanks. Sorry, everybody. I would feed the dog myself, but I'm in the middle of a YouTube show, so I'm asking my boyfriend to do it. So sorry about that. Olivia, come be a guest on Mommy's show. No, she's on the couch. Those are some natural breaks for researcher and designer, but since I know Destiny asked it, I can always follow up with her in Slack and see if that helps. And let's see, next question. If the project has already set sail and UX wasn't involved, is there any kind of strategy that can be used in the middle of it all? I think that was from Kayleen. Another tough one. Some companies think that UX is just something you sprinkle on at the end. They think that when a project is nearing the end, let's just have a UX person look at it and say, yup, it's UX-y. And so if you are trying to get more involved once a project has set sail, it's very hard because think about project planning. And if you haven't worked in a corporate environment, you're not necessarily familiar with this, but it's sometimes weeks or months ahead of a project starting. People are saying, okay, what's our roadmap? What are we going to build this quarter or this year? How much time do we think these particular features or products or things are going to take? How many people do we need for them? What are we going to, what's going to happen in what order? What are our priorities? So by the time the ship has set sail, it's really hard to be like, oh, wait a minute, can I get like 6 weeks to do a thing? Nobody accounted for that 6 weeks, and you usually can't just show up and try to wedge yourself in because UX is something that doesn't wedge in easily. So It's not like, oh, if we could just get a day to do a thing, this would be so much better. It would be a day of guessing. So unfortunately, it's really hard once the ship has sailed to make appropriate time for UX to be done well. We can show up and guess at crap, but it would be better if we were involved in that planning upfront and that road mapping so that we know, a project is coming in 2 months. We'd better start our research so that when the project starts and engineering expects to start writing code, we've done some research, we've done some design, we've vetted some solutions, engineering is ready to go. So that would be my thought there. All right, let's see. We got another question here. I just got an invite to a meeting about chatbot. Thoughts and prayers on chatbots? I tend to not be a fan of chatbots, but that might just be because they're so poorly implemented. Yeah, I don't have a lot of positive thoughts on chatbots right now. I think we are still not there yet. Thanks, Kayleen. I think we are not there yet. The idea that the chatbot can replace the human is premature. And, we see that on people putting up screenshots on LinkedIn every day and sometimes in the Slack channel of chatbots gone wrong. Those of you who followed my ordeal with UPS, part of that was their poor chatbot. That wasn't the only problem, of course, but the chatbot was not helping. And very rarely have I heard someone go, I had a problem on a website and then a chatbot popped up and it absolutely solved my problem without me needing an agent. Cricket. Has anyone heard that one yet? I really haven't. It must exist. I believe in it. But in general, I think chatbots are not really ready for prime time. And you've got the kind of the double fantasy of chatbots. First, they have to correctly parse what people say, no matter how it's phrased, and even from people who might not be native speakers of whatever language it is. So there might be mistakes in the language. Then you've got the idea that the chatbot knows the answer and can pull that from a database of possible answers and present someone with the problem-solving answer. Personally, professionally, I think that for all the money people spend on chatbots, I wish we would just make better products. If we had better features and better products, we wouldn't need the chatbot to try to clean up the poops we've left behind. And that's the problem. We forget that when we have tutorials, tooltips, how-tos, onboarding, videos, chatbots, call customer support. These are all signs that something in our system wasn't easy to learn, easy to use, or intuitive. We should learn from that. We should be looking at chatbot records and seeing where people tend to have problems and just freaking making whatever that is better. Very often it's easy stuff. I need to change my phone number. I need to cancel my account. I need to whatever. Why couldn't they do that? Stop spending money on chatbots and just improve whatever people are having trouble with so that they can self-service. Nobody wants the chatbot. Nobody wants to call customer support. Nobody wants to email customer support. Help us fix this. That's what task analysis and optimized task flow are all about. John says, thank you, Debbie. I'm going to the meeting with an open mind and I will raise concerns when I see them. Please do. And just remember that this is something usually the business wants because they think, great, we won't need customer support so much. These robots will answer questions for us. But how often is that done well? And do we run the risk that when a chatbot fails a person, as you see so often in screenshots, that by the time they get to the agent, they're further angry, or they're really ready to cancel, or they can't be saved? Do we run the risk that we are further igniting a problem and further introducing people to the 4 horsemen of bad UX? My registered trademark, R in a circle: frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. If your chatbot is not solving the problem, you are probably all 4 of these horsemen. And that's gonna suck. That's gonna suck. That can't be good for customer satisfaction. John says, yep, execs see a trendy technology. They think they need it. I think so too. And chatbots have been around for a while, and I still don't see them happening. And I can't think of a time when they solved a problem for me lately. Scott says chatbots are an unacceptable replacement for good design and customer service. Uh-huh. All right, so we're finally up to Charlene's question, which is actually my last question on the list. If I missed your question, say something now. Smiley face from Charlene. Charlene says, silly question, why do people choose a boot camp and not a bachelor's or master's course? So from what I have found from studying boot campers, which I actually did a couple of years ago, I did some research. I called people. I had them on Zoom. I spoke to them. What I've learned is that for the most part, it's a couple of things. Number one, it's the cost of the boot camp is typically way less than a bachelor's or master's, especially in America, where an undergraduate degree can easily be tens of thousands of dollars. Number two, it's the time. Remember that a lot of boot camps are what, 12 weeks? 16 weeks, 20 weeks, some longer, some shorter. Many master's degrees are 18 months to 4 years. So if you think you want to get into UX real fast, the boot camp looks like a better option, because either I'm going to be slaving away, and again, I that's not the right word to use. I shouldn't use that so lightly. I apologize. I should improve my language. But either I'm going to be toiling away and for years before I can possibly get a job in this thing, or hey, in 12 weeks, I'm supposedly going to be highly qualified for this thing and get my job right away. I had someone email me today about they're going to Career Foundry, and they said that Career Foundry told them that as soon as they're done with their course, they will absolutely get a job. And that if they don't get a job, it's really up to them to find internships and freelancing and other things to fill in between. And my thought was Career Foundry is supposed to build this bridge. And I think they're going to set people up for failure. So the problem is that it's a sales pitch. And if you read a lot of these websites, they say, wow, you're going to make over $100,000 a year doing UX, and you are going to be ready. You're going to be job ready in 12 weeks or 6 months or some really short amount of time. And so the problem there is people believe that, and they want to believe that. And I understand them wanting to believe that. The chat room just got really quiet. Is everyone still here? Any last questions? But Charlene, I would also say that in general, in UX, and this might be cultural because you were pointing out when you studied in India, it was much better to get master's degrees and things like that. There are definitely cultures that prize the graduate degrees more. In UX, you don't really need a degree at all. People like me somehow got into it when with a degree in music. So April says, yes, don't fall for the ad targeting. Solomon says, learn UX in 12 weeks. All the cognitive principles, all the processes, all the research methods, and how to determine the most appropriate one. Yep. I know, but the problem is we have to have some sympathy, even if we don't have empathy, and realize that the people going to these schools don't even know what they don't even know. They've been sold a promise. The promise sounded realistic, especially if the promise was on multiple bootcamp sites. Well, gee, Springboard said it, and Career Foundry said it, and General Assembly said it. Well, this must be true. Wow, UX must be having a crisis where there's way more jobs than people. They need me. Whew. So... yeah, Charlene says, my uni where I did my bachelor back in India had an amazing UX course structure. Yeah, so it's, I get it. I promise I get it. I really do. And especially because some of the master's degrees that I've seen are garbagey. They don't seem fantastically better than some of these boot camps. I've seen some of the portfolios that have come out of bachelor's and master's degrees, and they were not better than boot camps. So you're not guaranteed right now that, except with just a few really good schools out there, that in general, the schools don't have strong programs. I mean, if you know about Don Norman's efforts to redefine education, he also wants to redefine it at the university level. It's not like universities are getting it right and boot camps are getting it wrong. They're all getting it wrong except for a couple of universities. Most universities are getting this wrong. Let's see. We've got some other things here. Kayleen says, what do you whip up for food really fast? I'm a cook ahead person, Kayleen. I tend to cook for a couple of days. So, I don't have a good answer. I just had some of my, what I call summer salad, which is I chop up, fresh tomatoes, feta. Thanks to all of you for the feta. Olives, cucumbers, a little bit of olive oil, Greek spices, garlic, cucumber, summer salad. Charlene says, I ordered KFC. Okay, I'm going to guess your husband's not here today. Or maybe he is and he likes KFC too. I don't know. Scott says, I can't do feta. Sad face from Scott about feta. It's a feta sad face. I'm so sorry. Karan says, advice for self-learners. What about a roadmap? I don't have the answers yet. I'm working on that, and I'm hopefully working on that really soon as part of the Don Norman Initiative. I'm on the committee of people who will be working on redefining UX education for non-degree learners, so boot camps and self-teaching. So I don't want to speak for that just yet because we're working on it, but I would say certainly hit the micro lessons playlist here. There's lots of things I'm trying to teach people that I hope will help. So please do subscribe here on the YouTube channel. It's free. Everything is ad-free here, and donations accepted, but optional. They go mostly to cheese. Empathize with the like button, and after the live stream is over, come on back and leave some comments on the YouTube video. It helps in the algorithm. And of course, optional tip jar. Let's see. Amanda says, that's comforting to hear you're on the committee. It was for me too. So I'm very excited. We haven't started yet, but I hope we will. April says, that will be amazing to see the entire uni system overhauled and updated. I sure hope so. I hope that whenever Don Norman's committees come out with their recommendations, that that schools will take it seriously, that boot camps will have to change or die, and crappy online courses will have to change or die, and university courses will have to also change or die. That's what I think. Kayleen says, an inconvenient thing about me, I get really bored of my own food after like a day. Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that about you. Karan says, I was going through article after article and it's been so overwhelming. Yeah, especially if you're going through Medium articles, because so many of them are garbage and so many of them don't even agree with each other. We have a secret project we're working on that I hope will be ready in July. My boyfriend's kind of in charge of it, so I'm going to poke him about it in a few days. It's called R before D. And it's going to be a website where if you would like to write something, you can submit something you've written, but it's going to be reviewed by people who actually get UX, and it's not going to go live unless we approve of it. And that way we're not going to get 6,000 articles on painting a room is 8 easy steps and stuff like that. And Charlene's going to be part of that. I hope Darren might be part of it, but he never has time. April says, gotta go. Hey, good to see you. Oops, somebody did something. Thank you. That's usually a new member. Thank you, new member, for the emoji explosion. And thanks, April. Yeah, so we're going to have a website with kind of, pseudo non-scientific peer-reviewed articles so that we can make sure that if you find an article on this site, you know that we have taken a look at it and we approve of it and it shouldn't be garbage. Oh no, did the dog kick? Oh, gatekeeping, how could you? What did I miss? Where's gatekeeping? Oh, gatekeeping because we're not going to publish all the articles. Hey, if you want to publish other stuff, go to Medium. They'll publish anything. But we're going to actually have some standards. And to me, the difference between gatekeeping and standards is standards are standards and gatekeeping is just evil. Like, wahaha, I'm keeping you out for my own fun. Let's see. The dog did not kick the plug. Where is the dog? Well, she left a chicken leg in her bed. I guess save it for later. You got disconnected. Oh, okay. Scott's internet went down and he thought I did it. Well, Scott, I'm not that powerful. I'm just a low ego action hero who does not have the power over your internet in like Chicago or wherever you are. Okay. Yeah, hit refresh. Any other last questions? I've got a phone call coming up, so I'm going to have to run soon. But, any last questions? Thanks to everybody for the giant flurry of questions and for your patience in having them answered. I'm sorry if I missed any of them, but for those of you watching the chat, this is getting serious. So I'm going to have to see how we can give remote powers to Kayleen or something like that. Let's see. Kayleen says, my brother's dad's brother's dog will only eat fried chicken with the skin peeled off. Scott said you got tornadoes. Scott, you just live in the weirdest place. That's why I don't change planes in Chicago. Yeah, stay safe, Scott, please. Whatever you have to do, and wear 12 masks. Okay, any last questions from anybody else? Let me give you a couple of ideas of what's coming up on the show. Though, of course, you can always go to deltacx.link/events, and you can see our full event calendar, but I'll read you a couple of things coming up from there, so you know. Let's see. Next broadcast is Friday reaction stream. Send in your reaction stuff if you have something you want me to react to. Monday the 28th, I'm going to be doing some of my slides on breaking the addiction to workshops. And Tuesday will be office hours. Let's see. Friday, July 2nd, reaction stream. Monday the 5th, we're not going to stream because of 4th of July. I think everyone's just going to be out in the sun, so please wear a mask. July 6th, office hours. July 7th, I really want everyone to mark down their calendars and tell everybody about. I'm going to be doing my new slides on making UX agile and lean. And I want, this is what you're going to use as ammunition to try to get your power back from engineering and to bring customer centricity to your team, department, or company. Solomon says, thanks for doing the streams. Well, my pleasure. Thanks to you for coming. It wouldn't be the same without you. Kayleen says, thanks for the fun. I love talking to everyone. Yeah, it's great that you also have all these side conversations. It's Mad Max in Chicago. Be careful, Scott. Do not ride into the Australian bush. Let's see. Yeah, that's the main one I want everybody to get ready for, July 7th. We do have Monday the 12th of July. Michelle Ronson will be back to talk about convincing stakeholders about research. And of course, July 13 will be Three Musketeers Day. So lots of good stuff coming up. I also am working on booking someone to talk about content design, content strategy, and writing because you asked for that. I am also in the process of booking Vivian Castillo for August. So that's going to be really exciting to talk about all kinds of things we need to talk about and change and fix and improve with her angles on things. And some of you requested that Daniel come back, and Daniel has a mountain of content that he and I have already talked about. He's got some pretty interesting stuff on what is creativity and what is clarity. And I was like, whoa. It was really heady. So if you all are up for something heady, I'll book that one with him. I was worried it was a little bit too heady, but it was kind of neat. That's it. So if you know of any other guests or things you want me to pursue, guests and topics, over in the Slack channel, we've got a thread going that I'm going to look more at when I get the chance. And other than that, keep polishing up your resumes and CVs and portfolios. I hope that soon I'll be doing some hiring, so get your stuff ready. And if there's anything I can help you with, get it in Slack and let's all talk about it. So I'm going to play us out of here. Everybody be well and be safe, and thanks for the fun as well. I have fun doing these too, and I will see everybody Friday. Bye.
Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation.